This historical massacre changed the world forever. History is often taught as a sequence of victories, leaders, and turning points. But hidden beneath those familiar milestones are moments so violent, so transformative, that they quietly reshape the rules of power itself. This was one of those moments. Not simply a massacre measured by death tolls, but an event that altered how fear was used, how authority was enforced, and how memory could be manipulated long after the blood had dried. Before the massacre, life followed patterns built over generations. The city was not extraordinary by the standards of its time, but it was stable. Families lived where their ancestors had lived. Markets opened at dawn. Religious rituals marked the passing of seasons. Even under political tension, people believed there were limits, unspoken rules that violence would not cross. War might come, but annihilation was unthinkable. Mercy, they believed, still existed. That belief died first. The attack did not arrive like traditional warfare. There were no warnings, no negotiations, no prolonged siege meant to force surrender. Instead, violence entered swiftly and with purpose. Roads were sealed, gates closed, communication cut. The operation was precise, calculated, and chillingly efficient. This was not a campaign to conquer territory. It was a mission to erase. Homes turned into traps. People were dragged into streets, courtyards, and public squares. Executions were carried out openly, not in secrecy, not in shame, but as a demonstration. Terror was not a side effect. It was the objective. Every scream was a message. Every body left behind was deliberate. The violence was meant to be witnessed, remembered, and feared. Families were destroyed within minutes. Elders, who carried the city's history and traditions, were silenced. Children, symbols of continuity and future resistance, were not spared. Sacred places were violated. Archives burned. Cultural symbols shattered. The goal was not only to kill people, but to dismantle identity itself. By nightfall, the city had ceased to exist as a functioning society. Fires consumed entire districts until familiar landmarks disappeared. Survivors later described streets so crowded with bodies that movement became impossible. Smoke choked the air. Sound faded into an unnatural silence, not peace, but absence. Yet the true impact of the massacre extended far beyond that single night. News spread faster than armies ever could. Nearby cities surrendered without resistance. Leaders abandoned negotiations they had once believed essential. Populations complied before threats were even spoken. The massacre had accomplished something unprecedented. Total obedience without further battle. Fear became more powerful than force. Terror replaced diplomacy. Power no longer depended solely on soldiers or weapons, it depended on memory. The story of what happened became a warning carried across regions, whispered in homes, passed between generations. The massacre lived on as a psychological weapon. Official records attempted to reshape the narrative. Some described the event as necessary. Others reduced it to vague terms like pacification or restoration of order. Responsibility was softened. Victims were reduced to numbers, if they were mentioned at all. The victors wrote history carefully, framing annihilation as strategy rather than atrocity. But the ground remembered what words tried to hide. Mass graves lay beneath the soil. Burned foundations were buried under later construction. Broken tools, shattered inscriptions, and fragments of daily life remained frozen in ash. Long after official accounts failed, archaeology would reveal the truth that power attempted to erase. This massacre became a blueprint. Other rulers studied it closely. They observed how destroying one city controlled many others. Warfare evolved. Fortifications changed. Diplomacy shifted from negotiation to intimidation. Over time, annihilation stopped being an unthinkable act and became a calculated option. Across centuries, the same logic repeated itself. Different names, different empires, the same strategy. Destroy the enemy so completely that resistance becomes impossible. Erase language, culture, lineage. Leave nothing behind that could inspire defiance. The human cost went far beyond those who died. Survivors lived with permanent psychological scars. Children grew up without families, identities, or histories. Languages spoken nowhere else disappeared forever. Traditions ended in a single night. Trauma became inherited, passed down through silence and fear. Generations later, people obeyed rulers they had never met because of stories they barely dared to tell. Fear became cultural. Obedience became instinct. The massacre transformed from an event into a mindset. Even in later eras, echoes of this strategy remained. Propaganda rewrote uncomfortable truths. Cultural suppression was disguised as progress. Historical denial was framed as unity. The tools evolved, but the intention stayed the same. Control memory, and you control reality. This massacre did not merely change borders or governments. It changed how humanity understood power itself. It revealed how quickly morality collapses when authority goes unchecked. It proved that silence can protect violence as effectively as weapons. And it showed that forgetting is never accidental, it is engineered. History is not just a record of what happened. It is a battlefield of memory. What we choose to remember shapes what we tolerate. What we allow ourselves to forget determines what we repeat. This historical massacre changed the world forever, not only because of the lives it destroyed, but because of the lesson it taught. That fear can rule faster than justice. That memory can be manipulated. That truth survives only when someone is willing to uncover it. The darkest chapters of history are rarely the loudest. They are the ones buried, minimized, denied, and ignored. And if we stop looking, if we stop questioning, those chapters do not remain in the past. They wait. The deeper lesson embedded within history's most catastrophic massacres is that violence of this magnitude is never only about death, it is about authority asserting absolute control over both the present and the future. These events reveal how power, when left unchecked, learns to move beyond conquest and into erasure, targeting not only bodies but identities, memories, and meaning itself. When an entire community is destroyed, the intention is not simply to eliminate resistance, but to eliminate the very idea that resistance was ever possible. Fear becomes a governing system, silence becomes a survival strategy, and obedience is passed down not through laws, but through inherited trauma. Generations grow up sensing boundaries they cannot explain, carrying anxieties rooted in events they were never taught, shaped by histories that were deliberately buried. History shows us that forgetting is rarely accidental. It is encouraged, engineered, and protected by those who benefit from the absence of accountability. Records are altered, language is softened, and responsibility is dispersed until cruelty feels distant, abstract, or even justified. Yet the past is patient. It reappears in familiar patterns, dehumanization framed as necessity, brutality disguised as order, and truth dismissed as inconvenience. These massacres warn us that when societies trade memory for comfort, they weaken their ability to recognize early signs of repetition. Remembering, then, is not an act of nostalgia or blaming as a form of defense. It restores humanity to those who were erased, challenges narratives built on silence, and denies future oppressors the advantage of ignorance. Because history does not repeat itself blindly. It repeats when people are taught not to look back, and the most dangerous moment is not when violence occurs, but when the world decides. It is easier to forget than to confront what that violence truly meant. To remember is to refuse obedience to silence. To study these massacres is to recognize warning signs before they become destiny. And to confront the past honestly is the only way to ensure that history's darkest chapters are never written again.